Hi Ragnar.
Hey Sai, good to see you.
Thanks, firstly, for coming to my show and accepting my request to be on my show.
Yeah, absolutely happy. It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So I thought to tell about the work and the work that you're doing to my audience. So
Yes.
can you please introduce yourself?
So I'm having multiple hats. One hat is my day-to-day job, my bread and butter job at Quest Software. I'm a partner channel manager for the German-speaking region, Germany, Austria, Switzerland, where I'm selling our software through our partners to the end customers. And the software is usually around cybersecurity and migrations to Microsoft and to the modern workplace. And my other role is my MVP role, where I'm sharing my knowledge around also the modern workplace. And here I'm awarded in year number 5 as a Microsoft MVP for Office Apps and Services, which is Microsoft 365.
So what made you to become MVP?
Yes, that's a good question. So there are multiple ways how you can contribute. I think there are currently around 20, 25 categories. Mostly I share my knowledge around Microsoft 365 with our bi-weekly Microsoft Teams news show, which I'm hosting together with Alexander Eggers. It's a video live stream. We are streaming live to our social media channels and having interview guests. And we talk a lot about use cases. We demo many things around the Power Platform. But it's all, yeah, so usually it's around Microsoft Teams news and the ecosystem. That's my contribution area number one. My other one is I've got two blogs. RagnarHeil.de is everything around Microsoft, and Ragnar.blog is everything technically, but not only Microsoft. So I'm doing a lot of headset reviews, camera reviews, microphone, speakerphone reviews, which are also working fine on other systems and not only on Microsoft Teams. These are my two blogs. And then I also have a YouTube channel, of course. Then I'm having Twitter, LinkedIn, and I'm also doing a lot of conference speeches. I don't have to mention that I didn't do so many on-site conference talks since the last 3 years, but now it's wrapping up. And I think in 2022, when the pandemic is a little bit not so strict anymore, I also had the chance to talk on stages, I think 5 times, 6 times this year. But in the last 2 years, it was mostly in online conferences. So these are my most important contribution areas: producing reviews, especially around microphones, video collaboration systems, video camera systems, and speakerphones, product reviews, then blogging about Microsoft 5 news, and then this video show, and then what else did I miss? Oh, I also have a podcast, which is audio only, and that's something what I really enjoy. This combination of so many different ways how you can contribute, which feels so different. So for me, it feels different when writing a blog post or being on stage and talking to the audience or making a live stream versus doing a product review. So I really enjoy it so much.
You have 24 hours like any other person. So how you are able to do multiple different things?
Yeah, I get this question quite often. I would say that I'm reducing a lot of things which other people spending a lot of time. So yes, I also have an account at Netflix and Amazon Prime, but I don't watch so many series. So I spend a lot of time, especially in the evenings when I'm not working, to also catch up with my YouTube channels and then learning also new technical things. So I really love to learn, and that's something what I'm doing in my spare time. So not so much into classical series, but yeah, that's something which inspires me a lot. So it's really actually it's blending. It's a merge between hobbies, things what I love to do, and my work. So I cannot separate them. It's completely glued and stick together.
So you are using all the three communication mediums: podcast, YouTube channel, visual, sound, and also text. You're blogging.
Yeah, exactly, absolutely.
So how you are able to like you are doing your full-time job? Can you tell more about it?
Yeah. So it's um, sometimes I have the idea about a blog post on a Saturday morning. I just stand up, get a coffee, get a shower, and while having a shower, I have a great idea about a new blog post or something new is just coming up. So literally, I'm waiting here on my laptop that Microsoft Teams version 2.0 is going to launch, and it should arrive in just a few hours, and then I'm going to write about the new version of Microsoft Teams. So that depends on the timing. I have enough time here in my day job to go deeper and learn. And sometimes I'm busy with meetings and calls and customer and partner meetings. And then sometimes it's time for learning. And that depends really on my personal agenda, on the meetings, and also depends on the timing. Which means if there's a conference, let's call it Microsoft Ignite, then I'm spending more time on learning. If there is a closing of my fiscal quarter, then I spend more time really in closing everything and working on my pipeline. So it depends on things which are currently most important, and that changes literally every single week.
Microsoft 365 MVP. So how this happen?
Yeah. Okay. There are two ways how you can become a Microsoft MVP. First, you get nominated by Microsoft employees, or second, you got nominated by Microsoft MVPs. So I was nominated by Microsoft, and then it's an official procedure. There's an official form, and here after the nomination, I was listing all the contributions, which was a mixture of conference talks, a mixture of blogs I've written. And then, I was just summarizing everything what I've done in the last 12 months. And then the nomination, the evaluation process takes like 3 to 6 months, I would say. And then you get the answer, yes or no.
So what contributions, like you said, what kind of topics that you wrote?
I started, so I'm an MVP now in year 6. I think with the first MVP, the most of the content I produced was definitely around SharePoint. So I had a nice blog post called SharePoint Nuggets, where I was sharing every single blog post which came up from the community, and I was sharing the best of what's happening in the SharePoint world. So that was my start. Then 1 year later, Microsoft Teams was really huge, and I moved more. I'm not moving away from SharePoint. I'm still working a lot and deeply with SharePoint, but the focus of writing and talking about was actually Teams because it was more innovative. So that was the switch. And then I had the opportunity to do live streams with Alex Eggers with this bi-weekly news show. And then I got really, really deep into live streaming, and I love live streaming so much. I invested a lot of money into the technologies and the camera systems and microphones. So I really started to enjoy live streaming so much because it's a very interactive format. It's like a show. You really have dialogues and conversations with the audience, and that's different to just blogging.
So how is your experience talking with different people in the conferences, and also writing the reviews about the technical products? How is that experience?
It's so first of all, I wouldn't do it if I wouldn't enjoy it. So I always really, really enjoy it. If I don't enjoy it, I wouldn't redo it. So that's for sure. It helps me also, to be very honest with you, it helps me to remember things. So it happened to me, like, I think minimum 5 times in my life, that I was searching for a solution, went to Google, searched for something, and then I found my own blog post which offered the answer. So this is something, I don't know if it's my age, but to write something down really helps me to learn deeper, to concentrate deeper. So writing is something which is very powerful to focus my thoughts. So that's something which I really like. But on the other hand, there's always, I wouldn't call it pressure, but there's always the thing, I need to find something very innovative. So I wouldn't write a blog post, I wouldn't do a video without adding an extra value. So if I'm going to publish content, if I'm going to create content, there should be always extra value. I don't want to repeat things. I don't want to paraphrase things. So there should be always something unique and special.
So
Does this
yeah,
answer your question?
yeah, it's very clear. So
because otherwise, this is a very important thing. Otherwise, I would be completely lost. So if I would take my standards low, it would say, okay, I could just paraphrase things, then it would be open-ended, because I could write 100 blog posts a day to just paraphrasing things. But then I would just create a massive amount of content without adding value. So I rather prefer to create less content, but add something unique, a unique experience and unique learning, something which nobody has written before. But this helps me to produce less content, but more valuable things. Otherwise, the blog post could be automated by automatic writing tools, but that's something what I don't want to do.
So what response you got after contribution?
Yeah. So one thing which is a very interesting experience, where you start when you are an MVP and you write a lot and you publish a lot, and then you share it on Twitter, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Instagram. You just share it. Then sometimes it happens that you go to conferences, and I know a lot of people, but at each conference, 10, 20 people come to me and say, hey, Ragnar, great blog post, thanks for sharing. And I don't know their names. So that's something which is always a strange experience when they know you well because of your blog posts or videos, and you don't know their name, and you haven't seen them before. So that's something which is still strange. But it's a very satisfying thing, especially if you can really help them. So I got feedback from customers who said, listen, we weren't sure if we should pick this solution, and then we saw your video and we read your blog post, and then we have decided like 4 years ago to go to Teams or to use Yammer or whatever, or to use SharePoint. And this was the best decision what we have made in the last 5 years. And these are things which are very satisfying to me, when you really help to shape a decision and to make something, and you go into the right way, but you are on the journey of people, you're on the journey of companies. That's really satisfying.
What is your driving force which is making you do these many things?
This is I cannot answer with one single thing. So sometimes it's this thing of learning. Sometimes you learn something really interesting, and then you just want to share it because it isn't written down somewhere. So it's just this unique learning, and you just want to share it. Then on the other hand, I have to admit, it's also about getting recognition, because you want to be recognized in your community, in your niche, and so to get recognition there. That always is an important thing. But the most important motivation for me is really to help people, to support the community, to help people, and that's why MVPs are so focused on sharing without getting paid. So we have to be a bit clear. Everything what we do in our conference talks and blog posts and videos, everything is free. Sometimes conferences have some entry fees. Sometimes there are some tickets, but I don't get paid for my conferences.
So how you are able to manage your time doing these things?
It's all about focusing. So as I mentioned, I do something less. Sometimes I watch less series, less Netflix than others. Sometimes I do, and this is very dangerous. Sometimes I do less sports. I try to go to the gym like 3 times a week, but sometimes I do definitely less sports than others. But it's my preferred way of learning. So for me, it's not like, okay, I've got a job and I only work 8 hours. So it's this whole IT thing is definitely consuming more time than 8 hours a day. And it's my hobby. So I don't care if I do it for 10 or 12 hours, because I'm not limited to this 8 hours, because it's my life and I enjoy it so much.
So what is your view? How you take things and how you present it in your conferences, or it can be in your blog post, or through your podcast? Tell me the way you look at things.
I want to get an impression about my audience. So I try to discover the best who is in my audience, and then I have to modify my language. So are there end users? Then I talk differently than talking to IT pros or admins. or to developers. And if they're end users, I try to understand their basic understanding about the product. Is it the first time they are seeing SharePoint or Teams, or are they already using it for 3 years? So I try really and that's something where I'm also using a lot of feedback mechanism in the beginning to find out who is sitting in my audience, what's the level, because otherwise it can be overwhelming when I'm going too deep. It can be boring if I'm presenting too superficial. I think that's the most important thing, to understand which role is in your audience and what's their experience level.
So I can see the diversity in the jobs that you did in your LinkedIn profile. I saw you did completely different jobs.
Yeah, exactly. So I left university in 1999. I've got a master in MA in social science. Then, when moving from the social science study in the University here of Heidelberg, Germany, I moved into an organizational developer role in an IT consulting company. But from this IT consulting company, I was more attracted than about everything around document and content management, because they were producing for their customers content management solutions. So I started in this organization developer role, which was very close to my study. But then I went deeper and deeper into the projects and got more attracted by this thing called DMS, CMS, document and content management, portals, e-learning. These topics were huge in 2000, and are still huge 22 years later. And I haven't done something else. So I moved from there to a Dutch company who also produces or still produces content management software. And with this Dutch CMS vendor, I left in around 2007, and then I moved into a Norwegian search engine company called Fast Search, which was the leading and the best search engine for enterprises on the planet. And this company was acquired by Microsoft in 2008, and that's how I joined Microsoft in 2008, and I was aboard as Microsoft employee for 11 years. 6 years ago, I left Microsoft, now working, as I said, for Quest Software. But that was my journey to Microsoft through this acquisition.
So, what do you say about the evolution that you observed in the technology?
Sorry, could you please repeat your question?
In this 20 plus years, you saw the evolution of the technology. What do you say about it?
Oh, okay. Well, the biggest change for me was always the move to the cloud. So I spent a lot of years classically on premises. So I think from 1999 to 2012, when was my first Microsoft BPOS contact. So BPOS was SharePoint and Exchange in the cloud. So BPOS was something. Sorry, I need to figure out when it was created. So this was my first cloud contact. So BPOS was the first cloud solution for Microsoft in 2010, and that was the biggest part where I moved away from the on-premise world to the cloud world. I think this was the biggest change. On the document management part, these are still more or less the same topics. So the current SharePoint environments has got more or less the same main feature, the main topics like we had also 20 years ago. There are some significant changes, but the biggest change in my life was really moving from the on-premise to the cloud, because this has direct impact on my work life, because now I'm able to work literally wherever I want. I can work here from home. I can travel and work from travel. I can also do workation, travel and vacation mixture. In the past, when everything was on premise, I had to go to the customer side. I had to work with the clients. And this was a big difference, because then I was just sometimes for 3-4 years, I was working on the customer side for the whole week, 4 or 5 days a week, 3 years. And now I'm working from home. This is a big difference. And that's my biggest change in my whole life.
Any particular experience that you cannot forget?
The thing So when I was a consultant and really worked on premises on the customer side, the learning was extremely deep because you were on the customer side the whole week and you went extremely deep, but only with one single product. So in this time I was only specialized, let's say, on SharePoint. I didn't do something else. I was just working 7, 8, 10 years only SharePoint. Then you are extremely deep. You're reading log files and you know how to read the log files and you know how to fix things when they're not running and you patching servers. And these are things what I'm not doing now. I'm not reading log files anymore. I'm not patching servers, but everything is now bigger because it's not only SharePoint. It's not only OneDrive and not only Teams. There's also the Power Platform. There's also the whole Microsoft Viva experience, and also looking into the other clouds from AWS and from Google and see what all the others like Salesforce are currently doing. So for me, everything is now more exciting because on the one hand, I'm still very technical, but not so technical like in my on-premise times. But now looking into the bigger picture and also into the other cloud players on the market, for me is very satisfying and very interesting.
So what is the difference that you are observing before and now, before 20 years and now?
Well, I'm now much older, and one of the biggest things is that definitely I'm far more relaxed. When I was younger, everything was new, and we didn't learn it in school, we didn't learn it in university, or I didn't learn it, and so everything was just very, very new. And if I look now into my day, what I'm doing every single day, a lot of things are not new. Yes, sometimes you meet new partners, sometimes you've got a new product on the Microsoft side, but the day is not so new every single day. It's still a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. But when I was really in my early 20s and then you were visiting the customer for the very first time, you were really in a very new situation. So that's something what I'm currently seeing. And I also spent a lot of nights awake and learning for my new customers. So really spending like 3-4 hours every single night because you knew next day there's a customer workshop, an important presentation, and you just have to work hard to make it a really good presentation or a really good workshop. And that's now different. I don't spend so much time anymore for the next business day.
You're working on Microsoft products as well as you are also saying about Microsoft products through your mediums. You are creating content and now you become the most valuable professional doing it. So, working on Microsoft products and telling about Microsoft products, how is this?
Yeah, it's a wild mixture, a wild ride also, like a roller coaster. Sometimes you find your favorite product, like iPhone, SharePoint, iPhone Yammer, and also now Teams, which are great products, very robust, very reliable, and they're always growing and developing. But sometimes you also find products which are disappointing, where say, listen, this is not ready for the market yet. It should stay half a year longer in the oven and finish and finalize baking. So yes, as an MEP, I'm very biased, and I have a large a heart beating for Microsoft products. But it's not like black and white that I love everything or I ignore everything. I also look a lot at left and right. I also have iPhones and MacBooks here, and I also use non-Microsoft products like Salesforce. So it's not that I'm only in 100% Microsoft Cosmos, but from the product range, Microsoft offers the product range where I have the most knowledge. And it's not only about the tools where I have the knowledge over the last 20 something years. It's also the community, the people, the customers, the partners, and the employees, which makes work really, really interesting and fascinating.
So attending conferences, talking there, and is completely different from explaining about a Microsoft product in a blog. So how
It's
do you
it's
how do
completely.
you how if you compare yourself in both the things, what do you say?
Yeah, if you are on a conference stage, it's so it's so energizing because you feel the room. Sometimes people in the room, 5 or 10 people in the room, and then you can just talk to them and create example where okay, this example fits to this person, and this example fits to this person. So you really have conversation in the room because you see them, and then you can walk around, jump from the stage into the room, talk with people, and that's something which I really enjoy. Because if you just blog, then blogging is always writing to an anonymous kind of persona. You just write knowledge down, but it's not the communication style which I have when I'm on a conference stage. And at the end, it's actually also more energizing. So every time when I leave the stage, I feel different. It's a really energizing thing. It's like going through the gym, which is sometimes exhausting, but at the end you feel better. And with blogging, it's not so much the energy level. So it's more, it's not so much, the energy level doesn't change so much.
So you're talking with a machine called computer, and also you're talking with human beings.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what's the difference?
It depends. So sometimes from human beings, you get excellent feedback. Okay, let's frame it a differently. When I'm on the stage, sometimes you get technical questions to your presentations, or you just get feedback. But sometimes one of the biggest values is also when you leave the conference and you go to the post-conference part where you maybe invite people to a restaurant or have some drinks. Then a lot of very valuable conversations are happening, and that's something what I don't see when I'm just doing online conferences or just blogging. It's these informal conversations where you really have a very nice one-to-one in this restaurant or whatever. That's something what I would not have if I would stay at home blogging or podcasting. I could share knowledge. So knowledge sharing is perfect using these channels, video, podcast, blogs. But this personal side where you really take time and have a conversation with somebody for 1 hour, for 2 hours, that's for me very important. And that's also different to a business meeting, because in the business meeting, you are very focused on one business topic, but don't talk about your personal things in life.
And doing this different works, how you are adapt to one to other that quick?
Do you mean how can I switch between
Yeah,
these different levels?
yeah.
If I'm at a conference, there's this formal and professional side where you're on stage, where you are recorded, and then there is another professional side where you are maybe working on a booth and you have some conference duties because maybe your employer is sponsoring the conference and you're working on the booth. And then there is the evening time, and then you just maybe don't talk about work anymore. Maybe you talk about your hobbies or your family, and then you just switch it. So in my region, it's always very popular to say, okay, listen, at a certain time, sometimes it's 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock. Okay, we don't talk about business anymore. We just talk about our private things and hobbies of sports, family, travel, vacation, something.
So you're working on Microsoft products from long time. So what do you think that is working for Microsoft to reach everywhere on this planet?
Oh, I think Microsoft is very, very open and very keen to really always find changes. So sometimes the changes are always overwhelming. When customers and partners get new products, the changes can be overwhelming. But this amount of speed and the willingness to change is the key to success. I think Microsoft is one of the very few companies who sometimes really celebrate the change. They're really cutting away things, and sometimes they're cutting away great products, great tools. But this way of don't be afraid of cutting things and moving things, and really are not afraid of doing radical changes, also layoffs. I think that's something what Microsoft really helps to survive and also always grow and be stronger year by year.
So you contributed to Microsoft and you helped people in understanding about Microsoft products. So what Microsoft did to you?
Well, when I was working 11 years for Microsoft, they were paying my salary. Okay, that's for sure. As an MVP, I'm not getting paid for any kind of my work. So everything what I produce, the blog post, the podcast, the videos, everything is for free, and I'm not getting paid. What I get from Microsoft is a lot of meetings and calls where we get content under NDA about product news, product roadmap updates, which others maybe also see 2, 3, 4, 6 months later. So it's always this advantage of seeing things first. That's something which is very exciting. On the other hand, we get direct access to the Microsoft product group. So if we have a special question for us, for our customers, then we can go with this question to Microsoft program managers who are leading the developers and the product development. So that's something that is the key, which is very precious. And this sometimes really helps because you're talking directly to the people who are producing the products. And then there are also these MVP conferences. I don't have to mention that in the last 3 years, nothing really happened. So everything was virtual, very well organized, but I haven't been to these MVP conferences since the pandemic started. But that's also a great value to have an own MVP conference. And then we have local groups and local meetups here. So it's all about seeing and meeting the other MVPs, sharing content between us MVPs, and then also sharing the knowledge what we gathered to the public world. But then the NDA needs to be revealed.
So at last,
the embargo needs to be lifted. That's the way.
Awesome. So at last, what do you say to the MVPs or people who wants to become MVP for watching and listening to our conversation from anywhere on this world?
Yes, becoming an MVP is the most important thing is that you don't have the objective, the target to become an MVP. The most important thing is to really have in mind to grow and to lead a community. So it's not about creating a massive amount of content. It's really about a community. Yes, when you create a community, you also can produce a lot of content in the different ways, as I just mentioned. But it's all about finding niches where Microsoft also cannot enter this niche, but you are maybe in this niche. Maybe you have the talent to open a new niche, to attract new audiences, what Microsoft cannot attract. And this would be the right space to create a community. And then in this community, then it's the time to produce content and share content. But this is one of the most important messages. It's not about individuals creating only content. It's also about the whole thing of growing together. And growing a community means creating a space where people can grow and learn, and also not only, it depends where you are. Sometimes people are in a very early stage. Maybe they just came from university and they are from their professional education, and then they want to get into the Microsoft system. And if this community helps them to get into a job and then go and grow into the job and learn, this would be a big value. Others are sometimes in the job since 10, 15, 20 years. Then they need something else. But it's all about growing together in this space called community, which is a mixture of online and real life on-site space. But that's what it's all about, helping others to grow together in this crazy times with multiple crises. I think now it's more important than ever to learn together, to learn and connect and grow together, because the challenges in the future are so huge and so demanding that we cannot solve them individually. We need to solve them in a community.
Awesome. So as an MVP, as a person who's into technology and as a person who's into Microsoft products, what is your observation about my work and about my questioning skills?
Oh, I think you are on the right way. I think we need people like you who are on the one end very experienced around all the DevOps topics, but also have a huge cloud experience with the AWS. So I think it's very important to bring people with your experience where you're not doing Microsoft since 20 years. You also have a different background. That definitely makes sense. And I wish you all the best on your way to become an MVP.
So talking with experts like you who are already in the industry and who are solving different problems and handling different projects and attending different conferences and contributing through different mediums, talking with experts like you, what I'm going to learn and how I'm going to use this knowledge
Yeah.
in my role.
Yeah. That's actually the most important thing if you really want to become an MVP. So I think the most important mindset is that every single day when you start your computer, you log in into Twitter, you log in into LinkedIn or whatever, you really look there and see where can I help people? Where are people who need my knowledge? Where can I help? Or how I can connect others? Because sometimes you know that person A needs something and person B can offer it, and you just bring both people together. That's something what I do. So social media for me is not a place where I can just publish my stuff, where I just create content and then I just publish, and I don't care about the people there. It's really about learning there, listening what they need, and then helping. Sometimes free, sometimes I help for money, and then also connect A and B to, because they don't know each other, but you know both, and then you can glue them together. So that's very important, this kind of mindset to go into social media every single day and see where can you help.
So I'll put your web links in the description of this video. People who find the video on YouTube can see the work that you're doing and can see the contribution that you're doing to the technology world as well as non-technical people as well. And can you spell your social presence to my podcast listeners?
Yes, exactly. So on the one hand, you can go to Google and enter Ragnar Heil. So that's one thing. But all my channels are consolidated under Linktree/Ragnar H. So Linktree and then Ragnar, like a Romeo Alpha Golf Northern Alpha Romeo Hotel. Linktree/Ragnar H.
Can I put this video on my YouTube channel with your permission?
Absolutely.
And also, can I put this audio and video clip on my podcast, website, internet, social media, everywhere with your permission?
Yes, sure.
Thanks, Ragnar, for your valuable time and keep going, keep doing, and keep inspiring people like this.
Super. It's a pleasure. Thanks much for having me and to be a guest in your show. Thank you,
Thanks,
Sai.
sir. Thanks.